This week, Homura and Flame used their unique sense of teamwork to trick Windy into thinking Homura was jumping the gun by setting a card that Flame told him not to for threat of destruction. They showed the power of teamwork. They showed what happens when the Ignises team up with humans, when you acknowledge your partner, when you understand where you came from and thus have a greater understanding of yourself and turn that into power. Power you use to move yourself forward in this world. Oh God, it's amazing, isn't it? Except there's one itty-bitty problem. Just a tad issue. Totally not something game-breaking and, makes this boring when we're already dealing with a character who is at a lukewarm reception at best. And that little minuscule problem that totally the writers surely would have noticed along the way is that we fucking did this already! Like, we did this, 10, 15 episodes ago! We did this when Homura fought Blood Shepherd! Remember this? We had this with the backstory! We literally had this exact same setup. Homura fights someone who can't stand the fact that that Homura uses teamwork, or that he's more adjusted, or whatever the fuck. And so then they have a duel, and then at the end of the duel, Homura and Flame have what looks like some sort of argument or disagreement, or they're not working right or not in sync correctly. And then, the other guy thinks they can take advantage of this, only for it to turn out that the two are actually so in sync, so already have that perfect relationship, it's not like we could have seen more of that, that they just trick him into a full sense of security, when in reality, that was all just part of the plan, man. We manipulate the cards we draw, man. Deck builds don't matter, man. Jesus Christ, fuck. And we have to lose Windy because of it. I'm much more sad that we lose Windy than happy that Flame and Homura are still around. Come on. And some of you were thinking, well, Kevin, you were positive on things last week. That was because, I'll be straight up honest, I didn't really start noticing these connections until this duel was starting to drag a bit. And I'm like, something ain't right. And then when that thing with the trap happened, the minute Flame is like, don't set it, he has countermeasures, I'm like, oh, fuck. Here we are. The duel itself is pretty entertaining. I've said multiple times I don't care about skills, and I think the Shining Draw or Storm Axe or whatever the fuck is stupid and pointless, considering they just pull cards out of their asses all the time anyways. But yeah, the duel is fine. It's nice to see the Salamangreat stuff, because I feel like Homura hasn't actually had a real duel in a long-ass time. He just kind of got relegated to sidekick. So it was sort of neat to actually see the new Salamangreats make their big premiere, especially with the deck making its premiere in 2 days as of this recording here in the TCG. So it almost makes it sort of feel like it was intended for us. I'm sure it wasn't, but yeah, that was kind of cool. But it's just kind of the fact that the whole time, and I feel like if you had some sort of resolution to the existential crisis of last week's episode, besides just power of friendship, it would have been fine. But it doesn't. It just is the exact same crap we have seen every duel with Homura. Yeah, he's a little stubborn, he's a little arrogant, but ultimately he's got a good heart and he just wants to show you the right way, while the show shows us how fucking cool he is and how important and how we should just love him and accept the fact that he basically just sucks screen time for more interesting characters. Windy is really good, and Windy's voice actor really carried the whole episode in the best way possible. I love Windy's playfulness, just throughout the duel. I really enjoyed it, and I was sort of thinking to myself, how cool would it be if Homura actually did lose? Presumably everything's got to fall on Yusaku's shoulders at the end, so why not have Homura lose here? It would be unexpected, it would be cool, and it would make Windy seem like more of a threat. But no, Homura's got to make it, and I'm sure Aoi is going to lose to Bowman next week, so that way you can have Yusaku versus Bowman Duel 4. yeah, he's dueled this idiot 4 times. Yeah, that's kind of about it. Like, it's ultimately, like, it's a fun duel. I thought that Bahamut Bomber's upgrade was kind of neat, especially because we haven't seen a monster that is supposed to be a straight-up upgrade for something. Maybe even really the whole Link era. The Code Talkers don't count. They're counterparts of each other. So, that was cool. I miss getting, like, legit upgrades, like Utopia Ray or Runai's Pendulum Dragon. And I'm not saying we need it all the time. Like, I definitely think it kind of got ridiculous for a while there. Especially, like, Utopia Ray was, like, 18 episodes into Zale. And, like, just Odd Eye's Raging Dragon served no purpose. So, I'm not saying you need an upgrade all the time, but I kind of miss the idea of just that classic shonen logic of your new strength has a physical representation. We don't get that with Yu-Gi-Oh! Anymore, and it is a little lacking. And also the concept of putting a monster in the Spell of Trap Zone, to me, is a really cool idea. I'd love to see them explore further in the TCG, partially because it looks like they're never going to let Sky Striker die. So, yeah, that would come in handy, actually. So, yeah, that was my thoughts about this week's episode. Just kind of recycled. And if it was recycled with a character, we don't get that much, so there's not a lot to build upon. Like, I remember when we recycled everything with Aoi when she dueled Spectre. I feel like a lot of Go's dialogue kind of feels a little recycled. And as much as I want them to explore those characters more, I ultimately don't get pissed off as I am here, because we've wasted so much time building Homura up for nothing. He barely does anything. He barely contributes to the story. He is just there so that way there can be another Yusaku. And he's barely even enough of that. So, yeah, that was my episode, and I feel like this makes it a little awkward going into my next announcement, because maybe some people will be like, oh, Kevin, you just wanted to discredit this thing for your own thing. But if you saw the title, you know that I have an announcement to end this video. We'll do TCG question in a minute. This week I decided, because it kind of occurred to me recently that the next Yu-Gi-Oh! And the next gimmick we'll be going with actually will be announced sometime well, actually not sometime, around this time next year. I know that sounds crazy and seems so far away, but remember, Yu-Gi-Oh's go on a 3-year schedule, which is great, because it means we can end and we can get away from ones like this. And I've been thinking about this for a while, but considering as someone who both praises and criticizes the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, a lot of times I do get comments like, put up or shut up. And so, it's time. I have decided that I am going to start my own sort of like mini Yu-Gi-Oh series thing. It's going to be scripted. It's going to have voice work. It's probably just going to be me here in my mic doing different voices for different characters. This might sound a little crazy to some people, but a lot of franchises have these amazing fan projects, like Pokemon ROM hacks and fan-made Power Ranger films, all this cool stuff. And even though Yu-Gi-Oh! I think actually does have a very good fan community with custom mats, custom field centers, custom cards, all these cool, interesting things. And I mean, look, we've literally had people create entire dual servers to get around Konami's own issue with making a online version of the game we can really use. I feel like no one's really tried to actually put, say, a modern-day current competitive player's standpoint on what the anime should be like. Now, I'm not saying I'm just going to do every week Sky Striker player A plays Thunder Dragon player B. No. I want to see if it is possible to actually take the real-world elements of Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean locals, I mean regionals, I mean having to afford expensive cards, and implement that with a more natural story. Not this, I'm a 16-year-old tortured ex-lab rat who goes into the internet to fight terrorists and corporate espionage. Just like kids who play Yu-Gi-Oh! And what that means for their lives. Because, and I've touched upon this a bit in the past, playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Becomes more than just playing Yu-Gi-Oh! For a lot of people, and I want to see if I can capture that. I want to see if it's possible. And it's an experiment, and I don't know how it's going to go. As of right now, I have a very vague outline of what I want episode or chapter 1 to look like. I've only written down like one paragraph, but I want to put this out now because I want to gauge all of you. I want to know what you guys would like in a Yu-Gi-Oh series, what aspects of the real-world card game you think could be implemented, what real-world aspects of being a player could be implemented, what age ranges you want, what type of characters you want. I want that general idea because all storytelling is a collaborative process. And I want to get input, and I also want to know, like, should I just put it on this channel? Should I make it for a separate channel? Should I do pictures? I really am not sure how to go about this because I don't really think anyone's ever attempted. If someone has done this before, like, really, like, and really seen it through, please tell me. I'd like an idea how to do this. But tell me all that below. And as for the TCG question of the week, we're getting a little timey here. Salamangreat hit the TCG Friday. We just saw what they can do, and actually this was a pretty fair representation in a simplistic setting of what that deck does. Do you think it will crack the top 3 as far as tier 1 goes? Because our meta is different than the OCG meta, and when Salamangreat came out in the OCG, their meta was already in the middle of a big shift, and Salamangreat was able to fill a void. But here, though, Sky Striker is extremely powerful, Thunder Dragon is extremely powerful, Ultrageist is extremely powerful, Danger exists. All these things that they don't have to really worry about at our level in the OCG are a thing to worry about. And so I want to know, do you think the deck will still be tier 1 here, or do you think it will just be a very good budget deck that just sort of tops? And that's about it. Tell me that below. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and like I said, tell me what you want in a Yu-Gi-Oh series that was made by fans for fans.